Okay, what I'm doing now is to create a relationship between the internal and the external layer. Okay, so the first relationship is a visual one. So I want to line up mullions of the internal layer and the external one. So this mullion belongs to the internal layer, and that one belongs to the external one. So what I'm going to do is to line them up here, here, and here, and there. Okay, so you see that this doesn't have anything to do with that and doesn't look good. So I'm going to select this one. I'm going to unpin. So here, if you click this icon up there, we can unpin everything. And I think using this align tool, I can select this line and this line. And does it work? Probably it works, but there are a lot of mullions here. No, it's not. Okay, so I select, it's unpinned, then I move, and okay, so I can do this. But I would like to create a model line. Yeah, that's what happens. Okay, so for if the line, if this command of lining up things would work, it would be great, but it doesn't work. So if I want to make it perfect, I think I have to do it from the, what elevation is this? It's the east elevation. No, it's the west elevation. So let's open the west elevation. No, it's the east. Let's open the east elevation wireframe so that we can see this. And now I can use model lines. If I pick a plane and I can pick any plane here. And now I can create a model line, this auxiliary line. And then I can select this, I can move, and I can line it. Well, help. Okay, so yeah, that works. But I had to create the line on the east elevation, and then I had to move the mullion working with a 3D view. Okay, sometimes this happens with Revit. So I'm going to do the same with the rest of the mullions. I can copy this green line here and here and there. Okay, and now I can move this, unpin, and then move from this point to that point. And then I can select all these, unpin, and then select, unpin, move from this point. I have to move it here. There you go. And there's okay, let's look at this. There is a mullion, a horizontal mullion, that it's not there. Okay, it doesn't matter. It's not on the, we don't have this mullion on this first layer, but we do have it here. This is about design. Is this what we want? If we want another mullion here, I can always insert a new curtain grid. So if I hover the mouse here in the vertical, I will create another curtain grid here. And if I go to the right view, you see that I have another mullion here. So I can select it, unpin it, move it here. Okay, so this is just a design. If I want to have as many divisions on the first layer as I have on the second layer, that's fine. But, and even they can be different. But if they are different, there should be a reason for that. Okay, so I didn't notice, but the vertical ones are matching kind of 1, 2, 3. Yes, so the vertical ones are matching, but the horizontal ones were not matching. So that's what I have done. Okay, so I have created this. So on the east elevation, everything is lined up here. So that might be good in terms of aesthetics, because I see that things are lined up and our brains tend to think that when two things are lined up are better. But even from the structural point of view, there might be a good connection between this structural element and that structural element. Okay, so there might be different advantages in doing that. So that's why I did it. Once we have done that, we don't need these green lines, so we can get rid of them. Okay, so what's next now? Well, next we should, for example, can we move? We're going to create this weird thing. We're going to start installing thing here, and then we will have to plan something different for the last floor. We can move the curtain wall up to the top, but I'm going to do just this part, okay? But from the design point of view, you can extend this double scheme to the first floor, the second, the third, the fourth, up to the roof. But I'm going to create this element here, okay? So what do we need? We need that frame. We need that frame here. And I'm going to, if those are the mullions, the horizontal mullions, I'm going to move them like 1 foot, like 2 feet up. And I'm going to use the component model in place. So I'm working on the east elevation. I'm going to use a component model in place. This can be the structural framing, okay, because it's structural and it's framing. So I think I can select this. And now I'm going to use extrusion. So for the extrusion, I'm going to start here. I'm going to move it like 2 feet up. Then here, then all the way down up to, let's move it up to this mullion here. And now this way. And now I'm going to trim this and that. So that's the frame, but it's not a solid element because we need people to go through that frame. So the thickness of that frame is going to be 4 inches. I'm going to use the offset and I'm going to use 4 inches. See how it looks like. Okay, yeah. Good. And now trim. Okay. And I'm going to connect this and this. So I'm going to create an offset 2 inches here, down, and 2 inches up. Then I get rid of this. And I have to trim these 2 shapes. So I'm going to select this split element. So if I split element, I split this line, and now I can trim this part and this part and this and that. Okay, so that's the the shape that I want. Okay, and I need this structural reasons because it was too high. So I think having something in the middle, creating that connection between these two terms would be good. Okay, so let's click. And now let's see on the 3D view where we can place this one. So we go to the top view and we have to match this to the mullion that we have here. That's weird, okay? Because we need this to go there. So probably, okay, so I will have the opportunity to edit the mask that created this. But so far, I'm going to use this one and I'm going to copy this. I can copy this on all the mullions, all the vertical mullions. I'm going to remove constraints, but I'm going to do it every other one. So here, here, and there. Okay, so again, I don't need all of them, all the vertical mullions, but at least I have to make sure that this structure is matching the mullions I have here. So as you can see, we have matched that structure to the internal face, but the external face, it doesn't work well. It doesn't work well because I didn't take that into account. But now I can modify that mask so that this mullion is going to be lined up with this structure, and this mullion here is going to be lined up with that structure. So to do that, I have to modify the basic mask that I used. So I'm going to edit in place. And it's not the pyramid. So I want to modify the mask itself. Can I do it? Probably not, because I have to modify the mask. So here I have this. I'm going to work with no pattern. Okay, so if we don't have any patterns, now I can select the mask. And can I move this to this mullion? And then I have to select this and move it. Okay, I'm going to edit the profile. And now, can I align this here? I don't know if I'm going to make. Okay, I think now it's working. And I'm going to cancel and I'm going to do it again, okay? So now this is complicated because I created the mask, then I divided the mask, and then I inserted the families there. So I have to go backwards, and then I have to do it again. So if I create this, I can edit in place. And what I have now, it's the first thing I select is this pyramid, the family that I have created. So I want to work with no pattern. Okay, so if I work with no patterns, now I have the basic shape of the mask that I created. And what happens now is that this is not lined up with the mullion. Okay, the vertical mullion is this line we have here. And this is the line of the vertical mask. So I have to select the mask. And how did I do it? Okay, so now I can edit profile. And by editing profile, I can select this line, and then I can move this line to match this midpoint of this mullion here. And same thing with this one. I select this line, and I move this line to the midpoint of this mullion. Does it work? No, because I don't think this is the midpoint of that mullion. The midpoint is here. Okay, and now I can try to yeah, so for some reason this is perfect, this is working well, but these are not. So does it mean that I have to move it up to this point? Okay, let's see what happens. I finish the mass. I have this, and now okay, doesn't work. So I'm going to delete the mass, and I'm going to do it again, because changing masses, apparently it's something complicated. So let's delete everything. Continue. Yes. Okay. So probably it's better first creating the structure that connects the double skin, and then we will create the mass adapting this to the structure. Okay, so I think that's clearer. Here we have the double skin. Here I have created that structure, and then I'm going to match the mass to that structure that I created. So I'm going to do the same thing I did last time. Now I have the family. So when I'm done with the mass, I will insert the family. So you remember how I created the mass? That was on level 15. Okay, so I want to start the thing here on level 15. And I'm going to end it, let's say there. Okay. So on massing inside, I create in place mass. I set the work plane on, well, sometimes you have this menu, or sometimes you have the placement plane there. By default, it's level -12. So I have to insert this on level 15. There you go. And now I want to create a line from this midpoint, the midpoint of this mullion, to the midpoint of that mullion. Okay. And now if I do this, I can create form, a solid form, and it doesn't work because it goes the other way around. Okay. So let's work on the level 15. So if we work on the level 15, now I create a line from this midpoint to that midpoint. And I think if we select this, but this has to be okay, if I select this and I create the solid form, now it goes upwards. Perfect. And now I can connect this, let's say here. Okay, so I have created this mass from level 15 up to the mullion that I created there. I have to divide the surface, and now I have to create a rectangular pattern. Where's the rectangular? And I have to work with the U and the V numbers. So I don't remember if the U was 1, 2, 3. I think it was 6. No, the V, it's 6. Okay, so now the vertical lines are lined up with the other one. And I think for the horizontal lines, we used 3. There you go. Okay. I finish. No, I can just use the pyramid curtain wall, this one, and finish the mass. So let's continue. We have the first curtain wall. We have that structure connecting both layers, and this is the second curtain wall. So that structure, we might need that structure in every single vertical mullion, or maybe we don't need it, but that is the less elements, the better, the cheaper will be, but it comes from calculations. Okay, so we have to rely on mechanical engineers because calculating double skins, especially for wind forces, because this is like a sail floating in the air. So if the wind is too high, the building could fly, kind of. Okay, but we have to keep in mind the wind force or the wind speed when we have to calculate these double skin facades. So this structure, it depends on the wind that we have. The more the wind, the more the number of structures that have to connect both layers. Okay. So what's next? Well, next we have to create all that details. We have to cover, we have to create the blinds, we have to create this element. And so where can we start? Let's start by covering this part of the facade. So let's do it. On the east elevation, I'm going to move this mullion, select it, and pin, and move. Because I need like an element to fix this cap that I'm going to create. Okay, so I'm going to put it right here. Yeah, so I think it will work. So I'm going to create a cap starting from this mullion, and then I'm going to go all this way here. So the best way to do that is to create a component model in place. So let's create a component model in place. This can be a railing. And by extrusion, I'm going to set the work plane. I'm going to pick a plane here on this structural framing. And now I'm going to start from here. So I will do this. We need a slope because basically we have to get rid of water. Okay. Then I will do something like that. And I'm going to continue this. And now we need a thickness. What is the thickness? This is like a thin aluminum plate that I can fold. So the thickness, it's something it's very thin. So if I create an offset, this can be like 1/4, 0.25 inches. Let's see what it looks like. Okay, let's say 1/2. Okay, and now I have to close this element. I close the gap here and here, and now I can trim. So if I make sure that everything is a closed loop, I can finish that shape. And now I have to place it. Okay, so that's the shape that I have created, and I have to cover everything. So I have to go up to this point and up to this point here. Let's line up. Okay, so now I have created this cap. So this is protected from the water. Well, kind of, because as you can see here, we have an opening. We have an open space. So that's the space that I'm going to use for the louvers. Okay, so let's create louvers because we need to ventilate that. Okay, so that's the space that we have here. Is that space? It's open because the glass is this, so this is open, so that if I close those louvers, then the air doesn't go out. If I open the louvers, then the air will go out. So I'm going to create some louvers there. So east elevation, and I can use those frames to create the louvers. So I'm going to use architecture component model in place. We don't have louvers or something like that, so I'm going to use railings again. And what is a louver? Well, so we can go to extrusion, and we can create a shape that is something like that. I'm going to use the arches, start, end, and radius. So this is the start, that's the end. And usually louvers, they have like a shape, like a curved shape like this. Okay. So now I'm going to create a mirror here and here. So this is the shape that usually louvers have, okay? And can I round this up? If I select fillet, can I fillet this and this? Yes, I can. Okay, so I'm going to, this is, this radius can be 0.5. And now this fillet and that fillet here. Whoop. Like this. Okay, so this is the shape that usually louvers have. They are not, so they are like rounded. So there will be an axis here, and they will rotate about the axis so that we can open or close the space between louvers. How many? Well, how many? Let's copy. So every 2 inches. No, this is not enough. Every 3 inches. Okay. And we can copy one more. Three inches up. There you go. Okay, so we have created something that can be either open or closed. So now I select OK. And I have to see where it is in the 3D view. So I'm going to go to the front view. So all these elements can go from this structure to that structure. Okay, and now I can copy this to different. So I can select this, copy from this to this, and here, here, here. Okay, so we have created here a something that first, if it's like this, okay, so let's understand that. If we have these louvers in this position, first they are protecting this cavity from the water. Okay, so in the event that the water can go there, they are sloping out, so they get rid of water. And now if it's open, it's ventilated. If we want to close that louver, so we have a shape that it's like this. So there's an axis of rotation here. So if we rotate this around this axis, so we can have this louver like that. So if all the louvers are like this, so we have a closed space, or we can open all these louvers, and then we can have one space. So I think that works. Okay, what's next? We need that element that we can step on. Okay, so we need that tray so that people can step on that tray. If we are working with a 3D view, probably we don't have enough. Yeah, so it's too much detail. So I'm not going to work with all the perforations. I will work with the perforations with when we're working with the callout. Okay, but at that point, I don't think we need to work with those perforations. So on this east elevation, I actually, okay, I'm going to change this profile. I'm going to edit that extrusion because I want to make it here. So I think that was a 4-inch offset. Like this. And now trim this one, and I want to get rid of this. There you go. Okay, because I went too low. The problem is that as I have copied all these mullions, I have to delete them. And then I have to copy this one again. On level 15, copy. Here. Here. So now I have this, and on that element, I can rest the tray for maintenance. So I can go to architecture, component, model in place. What's this? This is a floor because I'm dealing with floors now. And I'm going to work with extrusion, and I'm going to create a rectangle like this. Okay. And now on the 3D view, that will go all the way here and there. Okay, so you see that now we have a floor here. So for maintenance, people can walk and they can be in that space. So the only thing that we have left is, according to this model that we are copying, we have already done these louvers. We have created the floor here. Okay. So now we need the blinds. So I'm going to create that shape on the east elevation. And okay, let's go to architecture, component. No, not place a component, model in place. What is this? Okay, another railing. And look at this. Okay, so I copied this blind again. So we have a cylinder that rotates, and then it rolls up and down this element. And we need like a box here connected to the structure. Okay, so it's I'm going to copy this. I'm going to use extrusion. I'm going to set the work plane here. And now I'm going to draw like a rectangle, 6 inches, say 5 inches, okay, 5 by 5. Then this is like a box, so I'm going to use the offset. 0.25. This is something very thin. So 1/4 of an inch, like this. Now I close this gap here and I trim. Okay. I continue with that. I'm going to create a circle like this, and then I'm going to move this circle down. And now I'm going to create those shapes for the louvers. So I'm going to use this start and radius arc, this and this, and I make it that shape here. And now I offset 1/2 inch, 1/4 better. And I close the gap here and there. Now I'm going to move this down. And now I'm going to copy like 2 inches. And I can keep copying all these. Okay. So let's see what it looks like. I'm going to finish all this, and then on the 3D view, I can copy this. No, not copy. I can extrude this in that space. And now if I'm happy with the result, I think I can copy remove constraint, and I can copy all these elements here. Okay, so the idea is that we can roll it up and down, and then we can protect the indoor space against the sun. The bigger the blind, the more expensive. So that's why I have divided this into different parts. Okay, because each blind, it's a small thing. So we can have a 30 feet blind, we can, but it will be extremely expensive. So that's why I have done something smaller. And if we think we can have the same. If we go to the east elevation, I can copy this to this. That way I created that second horizontal bar for the structure so that I can have a different blind here. And then I can have this video. Looks nice. I'm proud of it. And every time we add details, the project gets better. Okay, so you can use Revit as the storefront. Okay, so curtain wall, any curtain wall. But if you put some thought in designing the movements that read as we have here, then okay, so what if we create a double skin? Okay, let's create a double skin, and then you design the double skin, and then you design this element in the middle with this criteria. Okay, so we have the criteria of energy efficiency. So we have blinds so that we can prevent the sun from entering. We have blinds in this curtain wall here, but it's not a double skin. This blind, it's inside, and we use the blinds. Okay, so sometimes when we want to get the space darker, we roll down the blinds, or we roll them up when we want more light. So they are good elements. But having the double skin, it's something much more expensive than a simple curtain wall. But since we have spent a lot of money, so let's make a difference. And I think all these details make a difference, not just from the energy point of view, but from the aesthetics point of view. I mean, this facade looks much better than just a storefront. Okay, so just this. So look at the difference between this and that. It's much more expensive. Some people say, and why do we have a double skin? Because we're doubling the cost of the envelope. Okay, so then we need the energy aspect to justify that we have spent all this money on this double skin. And probably the first reason is because we like it. Okay, because we want something to make the image of the building more appealing. But we need other excuses. It's not okay because I think it's beautiful. Nowadays, this is not a good excuse. So we have to introduce the aspect of the energy efficiency, and this double skin can be energy efficient, and at least we can justify the money that we have put into it. But every time we add details, we make something special in the design. So that's the difference between dull architecture and something that looks better, details. we're going to add an openable window to this internal layer of the curtain wall. Okay, so first we need to insert the family. We have to load family. In Windows, there is a curtain wall. We have skylights. So we have a curtain wall. I think this is an opening. This is a window. Let's do that. And I think we have doors. Okay, so we have doors to curtain walls, to the storefront. I'm going to add a window and the door and see what happens. I'm going to add this door. Okay, so now we have to think of what kind of, what element we want to open. So I have to select, for example, this, and here I have to filter because I want to select the curtain panel. Apply, okay. And then on this curtain panel, I have to unpin it. And here we will have the door. Okay, so I'm going to select this door. And now I have a, well, it's a door, but it can work as an openable window there. Okay, so if it's winter, we can open this window inside and we don't need any other louvers. And usually in this kind of buildings, this is an automatic decision. Okay, so we don't decide when we open those windows. There are sensors. So when the temperature outside is below whatever, the temperature of the chamber is above whatever, then they decided to open that window. So that's what happens here. Okay, so we don't decide when we open the window. We have this for natural ventilation. So when the temperature outdoors is good enough, not today, we open that window and we don't need to use the air handling unit. Okay, so in this kind of advanced double skin facade, human beings do not make these kind of decisions. It's kind of scary, but different sensors make those decisions. And those sensors depend on someone, the software engineer has programmed events. Okay, so if the temperature outside is this, the temperature inside the camera is that, and the temperature inside the building is whatever. We have sun, we don't have sun. And then the system decides whether it opens the window or not. But yeah, I think this is a very high level facade. And then for the sake of geometry, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do the same here. I'm going to filter the curtain panel, apply. I unpin this, and then here I select the storefront, and now I have these two windows in that space. The beauty of these kind of details is when we have internal perspectives. Okay, so if we are on level 15, where's level 15, by the way? Yep. Okay, so if we are on level 15 and we place a camera here, okay, just by having this double skin facade, the internal space, it's completely different. Okay, so this is much, again, adding details adds quality to the space. And then if we want to cast shadows, we should see where the sun is with the sun settings. Let's use steel, and at 9 a.m. it doesn't work. Let's see what happens at 12 in the afternoon. Okay, that's what I mean. So we can have these lighting effects just by changing the sun angle. that having these kind of elements help a lot. And well, I'm not dumb because I should have done this on the south elevation, but I did it on the north elevation. Okay, so that's another lesson. When we have all that stuff, it's to make the most of the sun. So I have done this on the north elevation. Terrible mistake. You should have done it in the south elevation. Yeah. Because with the south elevation, we could have a lot of these lighting effects. I'm going to rotate this. Have to unpin everything. And that's work. But probably I can do something that I don't know if you're aware of. This is facing north. Okay, so we are on this. Is it facing north? No, it shouldn't, because it's facing south here. If you want to change the north, and sometimes we have to do that, we can work with this project north. Let's change to true north. Okay, and now you see that this has changed. And if we manage position, rotate true north, we can change the orientation of the building. Okay, so you see that we have changed the orientation of the building, but as working with this tilted plan, it would be a nightmare. Then we can click here and we can go back to Project North. And then we have this, okay? But the north is different. We have changed the north, and by changing the north, yeah, you see that we have changed the effect of the sun in this curtain wall. Okay, so that makes much more sense. And if we go to the sun settings, we can see if things are getting better. Yeah. Okay. But this kind of double skin facades, they make sense in south elevations, in east and west elevations. They don't make any sense in the north elevation. Because in the north elevation, we don't get any sun. We can make the most of the sun. And there's no point of having all these shading devices on the north elevation. Okay, so I wouldn't do that in the north, but south, east, and west, this kind of double skin facades can work really well. We have a perspective. You can use the best angle. You can explode it, or you can leave it without exploding. I don't know. It has to be clear. But that's the axonometric view. Then we need a section. So for the section on level 15, we have to create a section, view, section, here. See what it looks like. Yeah, I think we can see everything here in that section. Work with the crop region. So that's enough, because this is all we are showing. And then drag the section into the sheet. and make it bigger. Big. Big. Okay. And now we need a call out. So for the call out, we are going to show this part because we have a lot of elements there that we can show. So on the section, I'm going to create this call out here. And then here, I'm going to drag I'm going to drag the call out there, and I'm going to increase the scale 1/2. Okay. So now we have here the call out, and then we have to start working on increasing the level of details of this call out. We have a good level of detail here because we have done this all with a 3D, but there are things that we can make better. For example, that's the curtain wall that we have by default in Revit, which is just a rectangle. Can we make it better? I think so. Let's go to Insert, Load Family, and go to Detail, Items, and in where is this? Is it in Windows? Openings. We have storefronts. Okay, so on storefront, we have to find the right detail. It's not great, but at least it's slightly better than the other one. Okay, so we can upload this one, the storefront double glazed head. That's the head. Okay, so that's the upper part of this one. It might be necessary, but I'm going to upload the storefront, that one. Okay, so that one, it's connecting to glass panes. Right, open it. If now I go to annotate, okay, I can't do it in the sheet. I have to go to the call out, and now I can in annotate component, detail component. So that's the mullion. You see? So that's slightly better than the other one. Well, usually we have this the other way around. So the glass, it's in the external part of the mullion. So I'm going to mirror. Like this, and get rid of that. Okay, so that's this part of the mullion. And here, that was another mullion, but this is the head. So I'm going to insert the head finish section, this one. Okay, I have to use the mirror. Go, delete, and this guy has to be here. Okay, so now this is the horizontal mullion, and we have two glass panes here, and this is the vertical one, and as of this one, we don't have any curtain wall. So that's the head, and that's the other one. There will be another like this one down. So probably if we move it down, yes, we can copy this. Okay. Why don't we have the, because here we have the glass, but it's not completed. Doesn't look good because the glass is cut here and we have to extend the glass up to this point. So we can always modify that detail if you open the family. And if we do this, you can always move it down and make these lines longer. Then we load into the project and override the existing version. And you see that little by little, we are making this element longer. I think it's worth doing it, but it has to be much, much longer than that. And both sides. Okay, we are getting there, but here, yeah, we have to be careful because here we did too much. Okay. Okay, good. And what happens here? Well, if it doesn't work with the family, probably we can add detail lines. Okay, so that's very simple. So what do we need? We need to connect all these lines here. So if we can edit the family, we can always work with lines, and now it looks better because now the glass is a continuous element. We don't have triple glazing in these Revit families. So again, if you are interested in adding triple glazing, you will have to go to a glass curtain wall company and request details for Revit, and I'm sure that they will provide you with them. Okay, but again, if we move to a call out, we need to make sure that the level of detail it's better with the call out than with the section that we have there. Okay, and what else we can do? We can work with the structure. Usually in a detail, when we have the structural element, and that's the structural element, the section, it's something that stands out from different things. So we can use the override graphics in view by element, and the cut pattern. I can use a background that is a solid color, and it can be like a dark gray. Okay, so that looks better because at least we know that this is the structural element and it's different. And that's the concrete block or the concrete metal deck. So I think that deserves another color, so we can go to override graphics in view. And I like the pattern because this is the concrete, the material, but then the background, I'm going to fill it with light gray. Okay, so now at least we understand that this is the structural element. This is the cut steel structural element. That's the curtain, the concrete slab. And well, look at this. We created that element here, but now what happens? So I adjusted this distance to the thickness of the concrete slab, but as you can see, now we have this metal deck, and it doesn't look good. So if it doesn't look good, I'm going to, because this bolt is supposed to be inside the concrete slab. So when we are approaching to the structure, we don't have this. We always have like yeah, so like a solid element. We don't have that shape. That shape works, but when we are resting this on the beam, then we need a solid element here. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to go to region, field region, and I'm going to do this. Even here. I click OK, and I have this terrible thing. So I'm going to try to match this to the same material that I have there. So I'm going to override graphics in view by element. The foreground, it's material, and I'm going to use concrete. Good. And then the pattern, it's a solid fill, and I'm going to use the same light gray that I used for the other one. Beautiful. Okay. So now I don't have this weird connection. I don't have to change that because actually I have the that plate, and those bolts are connecting this to the concrete slab. Can we make it better? Yes, we can. And we are splitting hairs here. Okay, so we are because you see that there is a gap between the concrete and the steel. So we can fill this gap with a thin layer of steel. So let's do it. I'm going to create another region, field region, and I'm going to do this, trim, and now I'm going to, what is that? And now I'm going to go this way. And this way. Here. Like this. Okay, and now I need this offset, so I'm going to use offset 1/4. Okay, I'm going to use this offset 1/4, and trim this and that. The problem is that I can't, I have to continue, but I have to close this. Trim. So now I can fill, or I can close that gap. So that's the steel, thin steel plate that is holding the concrete. So this is really what a deck or a concrete deck is. And I'm going to go to override graphics in view by element. And this material, what is the diagonal down? Yeah, we can use this diagonal. And then for the pattern, I'm going to use another color here. Okay, so that makes sense because this is a thin layer of steel. That steel, they have the same color. And then that's the concrete, which is different. Okay, and then I have closed the gap between the beam and the concrete slab. Is that enough? Well, I don't know, but at least in if we have this sheet, there is a difference of the detail level that we have in this section, and we have in the callout. Okay, so I think that looks much better. We can. I'm going to add this override graphics in view by element, and surface in material. I'm going to use a solid fill, but a match light gray theme. Okay. Good. Oh, and this one, if this is another steel plate or another aluminum plate, we should use the same code that I have here. Okay, so for that one, I'm going to override graphics in view by element. And what the heck? I don't have the pattern. I have the cut lines, and I can use the weight. Okay, let's try to use this, but now I have to work with that. Okay, so I can't control, I can't fill this with a color, but I can use the weight, the line weight to do this. So probably all this can be with a different line weight. Let's make it 5. Yeah, I think it makes sense. So then let's go to this. Yeah, so I think the line weights go well here. So that will be the assignment that will be due this weekend. Okay, so we have a perspective, we have a section, and here we have callouts. We have to complete this sheet with another callout there. So what is that callout? Something that you have already done. So I haven't done this with the concrete basement wall, and I haven't done this, but it's something that you have to do so that at the end we have these 2 callouts. Okay, so I have created this one, which is the top of the curtain wall, but then you will have to do this the concrete wall with all the drainage systems, you know how to do that. Okay, so we have done it before, but if we want to complete the section, I want to create a callout here of this part of the basement, or this part of the basement, and then I need a callout on the top of the curtain wall. Because that's the way we present things. Okay, so we have a section from the top of the building to the basement, and then we take different callouts. So in this case, we have this one, and we have that one. Okay, so that callout has to be there. And